Okay, so it is a couple minutes in, so I am going to get started. Hello, everybody. I'm Mara Babilia. I will be moderating this session. This is Ideas for Strengthening Established Summer Food Sites. Our panel will discuss how partnerships and innovative ideas can help strengthen your summer food sites. We will cover how to provide wraparound services through community partnerships, mobile meal distribution, and more. So to the right of your screen, there should be a chat and a Q&A. Feel free to answer or ask any questions in the Q&A portion, and we will ask those to our speakers at the end after they're both done presenting. So first we have Nicole Pleil. Nicole Pleil is the Food Service Director at Trinity Area School District in Washington County. She holds a bachelor's degree in food service management and a master's degree in human nutrition. She has over 25 years of experience and is passionate about healthy eating and exercise. So take it away, Nicole.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let me get my PowerPoint here. Okay. So as Mara said, I am from the Trinity Area School District, and we have been participating in the summer food service program for about 7 years now. And I think a lot of the key to our city is building relationships. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationships that we've made here and how that has impacted our program. Relationships take time. It takes a lot of time to get to know people and for people to find you and rely on you for food. And here's a couple little things that you can do to sort of spread your relationships around. The community needs to find you and rely on you for food. So you become a source of food and a sort of, sometimes I feel like a caseworker that, you know, we're connecting the dots between not just hunger, but between other services that we offer. And so when you get to know participants by name and figure out why did they come, you can sort of connect the dots. And so this summer we were outside, obviously, with grab and go meals at the curb, and we were able to start to see a pattern between cars. And the ladies that were outside and that were social distancing were able to recognize the same cars. And then they started to draw connections between who's in that car and why they were coming. And so then we started, you know, texting and finding out, you know, who's who and why they were coming. And then we could encourage them to come back. When you seek them out and get to know them by name and say, hey, look, there's, you know, so-and-so, and you say them by name, I think people feel more valued and more comfortable with you. And then preferences. If you find out what kind of food do they want, you know, writing a menu as the program director, that's so challenging. And if you think about the menu in your home, you know, figuring out what to make for dinner all the time is exhausting because you just feel like you make the same thing. And so when you incorporate what other people want, not only does it help build your program, but it sort of takes a burden off your shoulders, if you know what I mean. And ask how they've been and you know, make these participants feel special. We've just had so much fun, you know, over the last 7 years. And we talk about, you know, how kids have grown and how families started coming with newborn babies. And back in those days, they let us hold, you know, little babies. And, you know, now they're in grade school with us. So we offer a lot more than just food. Yes, we are a source of food in the community, but we get other things and services out with our bagged meals. And so some things that we have partnered with, organizations that we have partnered with over the years, number one is a big source is churches. You know, churches and religious organizations, they seek memberships. And so by putting blurbs in their newsletter, you know, they look for things to put in their newsletter. They probably feel they put the same thing in their newsletter all the time. And sometimes they'll give us, you know, coloring pages to pass out or, booklets or information. We have a bunch of fitness clubs in our area, as do, I'm sure you do. And those fitness clubs have resources too. We've handed out things about childhood exercise and little ways to keep your kids active. And then a big part of what we have done is give out free haircuts. And you might think, how are you giving out a haircut? But it's really a certificate to a technical vocational school here in Washington County that they're looking for people to cut hair. And so sometimes I think, we've been able to connect those dots too. It helps the technical school. It helps, our program. We've had banks that have nice resources for families who, how to balance a checkbook or low interest rates, things that can really help, build our program. Our local hospital has provided information on hygiene as well, hand washing, booklets, bookmarkers, and our PTAs here in the schools, they're always looking for help. They need people to help with dances and different things like that. And so sometimes, they'll give us membership information to put in our bags. Vision to Learn, if you have not heard about Vision to Learn, I'm probably their number one cheerleader. I wore glasses as a child in grade school and always had trouble seeing the board. I think that there's a big gap between proper eye care and sometimes, kids lose their glasses, break them, leave them at grandma's, and Vision to Learn has been such a wonderful program here in our community. And of course, the Salvation Army. I can't even tell you how many times they were coming once a week. And I think we did that like 12 weeks in a row. They've helped with meal distribution, just a giant boost to our program. And in turn, it truly helps the community. I'm always looking for things to give participants to take home as a reminder, because once you're home, you're not thinking about us. So I want something in front of our participants that says, hey, look at me. And, the food bank has great resources like refrigerator magnets. So every time you open that refrigerator, you're seeing something that reminds you of us. The Phipps Conservatory, wow, they do a ton of free educational programming, a lot of which is geared around healthy eating and exercise, which I'm passionate about. Coloring books and coloring pages, a lot of that is free. And again, Vision to Learn. Every time a child puts on a new pair of nice purple reading glasses, they're reminded of coming back to see us. Get your staff involved. That's huge. And, over the summer months, typically lunch ladies don't work. And this year, because we were so successful, we were able to continue to put people to work. And for some women, that's a good thing. We're not all cut out to sit at home and stay at home with our family. I'm the first one to say that. I loved coming to work and being part of a bigger project. And so our staff was too. And so as they were loading the tables and seeing the cars go by, they would say, oh, that's my mother-in-law's neighbor. And I'd say, well, can you call your mother-in-law's neighbor and ask them to keep coming back? Because we need the participation in the program, which in turn keeps our staff working. So it's sort of a snowball effect. And when they started to realize that, boy, they really got behind the program and their social media and texting and saying, hey, we're here. Come out and see us every day. Staying positive, boy, that was hard this year. I can't even tell you how hard, and I think everyone has experienced, the challenges of COVID-19. But some things that we really did here that I think helped with our success. The first one was just trying to stay positive. I've learned over the years, the first one is so important, but I don't owe everyone an immediate response. And sometimes when I pause and I breathe and I count to 10, I can think more clearly. And so I can say now in my senior years almost that I'll get back to you about that soon. You know, I don't need to give someone an answer right now and then regret it tomorrow or the next month. You know, we got into some stressful situations here. Take a break, walk away, get a drink of water. And taking care of ourselves, especially, I'm going to think predominantly we're women on this conference today, taking care of ourselves, sleeping at night, you know, that's something that I struggle with. And so exercise has truly been my key, but, you know, eating well. And when I sleep well and I eat well, I can think so much more clearly and I have more to give at work. Staying connected with other sites, that's huge. You know, right in my iPhone, I have a ton of contacts with other sites that we can text and say, hey, what's working for you? I'm struggling with this right now. Have you thought about doing this? And so asking for help, getting suggestions, because really we're all struggling sort of with the same things, just maybe at a different time. Being flexible. And I love, if you're around my age, you remember Gumby, right? We learned a lot during this pandemic and we've changed and we continue to change here. And, you know, some days we're feeding at the front door, then we're at the back door, then we're at the loading dock. And some days we're in the cafeteria and the next day we're, you know, in the gym and we have dividers up. And it's okay to change your plan. It's okay to revise your plan. And again, it's okay to alter your plan because things are going to change. And I truly think that I really got this through my head right now. And that's that nobody expects us to be perfect except maybe yourself. And so I think people have been, you know, grateful right now. I think that they have been supportive and I think that they, you know, understand what we're going through. And so every time we change, it's been acceptable. And that's really key. I am here to help. I'll help any site. If you want to reach out to me, please do. My email address is npleil@trinityhillers.net. Give me a call, drop me an email. I'm here for you. And I thank you for joining in today.
Thank you, Nicole. Up next, we have Michele Scott. Michele Scott has been employed with LCAP for 21 years and has worked in various roles throughout that time. It has been her pleasure to serve as the agency's food service director for the past 5 years, as well as the SFSP coordinator for the past 10. And Michele is joining us on her phone, so I am going to share something for her on my computer. All right. Let's see. Can everyone see that?
Yes. I see.
All right. Take it away, Michele.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining our session. Nicole, I certainly enjoyed your presentation. And Nicole and I discovered that we're like sisters in communication. We can talk forever. However, we had like a limited time. So I know that using PowerPoints and documents will help, you know, kind of keep us on track. But I wanted to talk to you all about our whole mobile summer feeding program that we've established. A lot of you have probably already heard this presentation before, so I'm just going to spend a few moments just to kind of talk through this PowerPoint, but then also kind of tie in how we utilized our mobile cafe during this pandemic time. And so at the start of probably about 2015, we had worked with Share Our Strength with a piloting program that we had named Summer Eats. And little did we know then that it would be relevant today. And so that program, the pilot was streamlined toward providing meal services on the go, like a drop and go service, just what we're doing now. Had no idea that, like I said, that it would be relevant today. So when the pandemic hit, we were able to just kind of just pick up the ball and keep rolling. But in 2015, we piloted this program. And with that, it burst our opportunity to be able to take our mobile route on the road, a bit more tailored towards, the regulations that we had to follow. So in 2016, what we did is we had a school bus, and we had school buses at our disposal because we also house the county's Head Start program. And so we had a school bus, we retrofitted it, gutted it out, refurbished it, wrapped it, and at that particular time, then our mobile route was birthed. Our outreach bus was birthed. The bus is equipped with Wi-Fi. There's TVs that's been installed in the bus. And so while the kids are, coming onto the bus to eat their meals, they're able to engage in learning activities that have been installed on these televisions. We, at the beginning in 2016, going into 2017, we started small with this, and we chartered out 4 particular stops that we thought would be most beneficial for this bus. Now, Newcastle, I don't know if any of you all are familiar with our area, but Newcastle is weird in the sense, the city itself is not necessarily a city, but it's a small town. But then, houses are close together. But then we also have this span of land that's very rural, and it is comprised of, and I didn't know this until we started searching out where we were going to establish our sites. I didn't know we had as many mobile home parks within our county as we did. And so there were over, I believe, like 30 mobile home parks. And within those parks, the kids were low income. And so there were pockets of places that we could, stop at. We did our homework. We went and we mapped out the land, and we looked to where there was more kids that were, together, compacted together, and we chose those 4 stops at the beginning. So we started small in 2017, and then as the years had moved on, then we ended up serving more folks. So it worked. It worked out for us quite beautifully. And so we were able to get this established. It's not a cheap effort at all, but we're so thankful to the support of Mayema Hoyt Foundation, Share Our Strength, the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank, Walmart, Specialty Foods. Our Lawrence County, we have a Empty Bowls fundraiser that we use. And it was the startup cost to us being able to retrofit the bus. And if you go down, scrolling down to the second page, you can see the breakout costs of the bus, and to the right, you'll see the pictures of what it looked like when we started, and while we were doing it, and then the finished product at the bottom of the screen, of the bottom of the document. Inside, you can see the black and white flooring that kind of mimics like a cafe type scene, and then there are tables that have been built in. They've been bolted down to the floor, as well as the benches have been bolted down to the floor. There's a countertop for the workers to work on, and then you'll see in the back there's a big, huge cooler that is stationed in there as well. And so in the beginning, we just started out with cold meals. And so, because that was the easiest thing for us to get up and running, is to do that. We were able to, just to to keep cold things cold like they needed to be, like things like sandwiches and of course milk and all that goes with that. The following year, we were able to graduate to serving both cold and heated meals. And what we did with that is we purchased heating elements, warming elements, much like whenever folks that are caterers and they have those heating racks and Cambro carriers and things like that. We purchased a couple of those, and we were able to cook the meals in our central kitchen and then keep them warm in those warming elements as we traveled through the stops, and to serve our kids. And so, of course, then the pandemic hit. We weren't able to utilize our mobile cafe in the sense of traditional summer food. But because of the whole social distancing and, being inside in that closed area, it's a small area. I mean, it's huge in a normal sense, but in light of the pandemic, then it was just too small of a space to be able to continue to host summer food as traditional. And so just like everyone else, we created COVID-19 stops, and what we ended up doing, not necessarily serving food out of the bus, but what someone had said, I believe it was in the keynote speaker, Billy Shore, who's the founder of the No Kid Hungry. He had mentioned that it takes more than food to fight hunger. And so we realized, even what Nicole was talking about, all the different resources that they were able to pull together during this pandemic, and we were able to do the same thing, is that there were supplies other than food that the community needed. And so we were able to supply, the big thing was, we needed cleaning and sanitizing items, masks and gloves and all sorts of hygiene product and how to keep your home, things that would help keep the home sanitized and all that. We were able to purchase those things. A lot of it was donated. And so as Nicole was speaking about community, tying themselves together, I thought that was the huge thing that came out of this whole pandemic, is that the community bonded themselves together. They donated so many things to help us to not only provide food, which we ended up renting a refrigerator truck during this pandemic time to be able to house the volume of food that we needed to pass out, in addition to utilizing our bus to house the supplies that were needed, that we were able to pass out to families. Now, in conjunction with the school district, because the school districts were also doing what they needed to do to make sure that the kids within the school districts were fed. Then we set up areas there so that we weren't duplicating services, and we were able to go into areas to where typically the eligibility would not, the income eligibility did not meet the criteria of a typical summer food. And so we went into to areas to where the income was higher, and but still kids still needed to be fed. And they were in areas to where maybe the school buses did not stop. And so we were able to create events and cooking projects and things like that. We were able to do and pass out all sorts of things. And like Nicole was talking about, coloring books and to help keep the kids busy, and activities to help keep them active, because nutrition and activity goes together. I mean, we got to keep these bodies healthy, not only just eating wise, but we got to exercise these bodies. And so different agencies partnered with us in order to make these events happen. And so that's how we utilize the bus during this pandemic time, is to create these COVID stops and, to pass out supplies in addition to food. And so certainly it was, we worked really hard like everybody did. I think I worked harder in this year than I have in my 21 years of LCAP. my God, I got my workout on, but then also just relationships were established, and awareness was created. And so, we are continuing with the endeavor. And I'm just grateful to be able to be a part of having a mobile route. I got something else up my sleeve in my brain that I want to kind of work on in the next few years. I won't share that right now about what that is, but I'll let you know, whenever we get things going with that second project of a mobile route that we are interested in creating. But thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I had muted myself. So let me see. So there aren't any questions in yet. So if you have any questions, to the right where it says chat, polls, Q&A, feel free to put those in there and I will ask them to our speakers. I have a couple of questions. So Nicole, you talked about having a vision. What is the process for kids who want to have an appointment with the vision van?
So parents need to complete a permission form, and then we would schedule them, and they just need to show up. It's a Mercedes van, and the kids get in and they have everything in this van that you can think of, including the eye doctor. I think they have over 90 pairs of glasses to pick from. They're all name brand glasses. They're hip and colorful, and it's free. Even if you have insurance, you can get another pair of glasses. So now when kids lose them, break them, scratch them, they have a backup pair to fall back on. And they're also guaranteed for 1 year. If you lose, break them, you call Vision to Learn and they mail you out another pair. It's the best program going.
Okay, let's see. Oh, oh, that's just in the chat. Okay. And Michele, how many mobile stops did you say that you did with the mobile route?
So we safely, initially we started out with 4 stops. We increased, I believe it was to 8, but to effectively to be able to serve the kids, we 4 stops during a mobile route where the kids come on and eat and spend time at these stops. Is definitely more practical to do. So 4 stops. We started with 4. We ended up with 8, but then we trickled down back to 4 stops. Because you think about when the start of the meals, lunch starts, and then by the time it ends, it ended up when we were doing 8 stops, like we were into dinner time, and it was just a lot of time, and that was not very practical.
I know there's a lot of interest in mobile routes. What would be your number one lesson and piece of advice for people who are interested in starting a mobile route?
Certainly do your homework before engaging in this. On this platform, share No Kid Hungry has a link that's there, and they have a link, just a whole plan of what to consider before starting engaging into this. But the first thing definitely is to do your homework about the area in which you live. Look at where would these stops be, and then you think about, because we had a big school bus, could we even maneuver to go in and out of these areas? So definitely think about that first, and think that'll help to gauge what type of vehicle to even utilize or purchase or rent prior to moving forward. But certainly do the layout of your land first. Where are the kids at, and can a bus or a vehicle be able to maneuver in and out in order to be able to serve the kids, not only as many kids, but serve them safely. you know, because kids got to get to where the bus is at. And so you definitely want to be able to do that. So that is the first thing. The also, in what we've learned is that in certainly summer food cannot take care of the expenses of the maintaining the bus itself. So you definitely want to do a cost layout. And in the Nook and Hungry, they have that income calculator or that budget calculator to use. Certainly use that, because that was something that we were able to utilize in order, you know, to see if what we could do is even within our budget or means to be able to do. So what we ended up doing in the summertime, whenever you know, we weren't using the bus for transportation for summer food, we have other programming within our agency, and so that we use it now as an outreach. So when it's not when it's not our mobile cafe, it's our outreach bus, and so it helps us to be able to you know, reach out to the community for the other different programming that we have, such as our Head Start program. We also have a transportation system, a shared ride program, to where we, you know, help the community, especially our senior citizens and our disabled and our veterans. And so we shared the bus with other programming, so to help share the cost. And so we were able to maintain it that way because of the shared costs.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
So this is for both of you. What sort of feedback from the community have you gotten with the different activities you provided in addition to food?
Do you want me? I'll go first then. We've had tremendous response. Families have dropped off donuts for the ladies and handwritten cards, and in one of the locker rooms we have a whole wall of hand colored pictures and notes and thank you cards, and it's really helped get us through. It lifted and enlightened our hearts at the time, because I agree completely with Michele that I have never worked as hard as I have during the pandemic. The hours and the neglect of my family, and you know, my family even sacrificed so that I could be here and sort of steer the ship. But it's amazing and we're still operating under the SFSB. Mm-hmm. We're right now at the curb, and we're continuing to still see, you know, positive feedback.
And I definitely want to piggyback off of what Nicole was saying. Honestly, like it's really amazing in the midst of pandemic, in the midst of crisis, of how folks pull together, whether it's been individuals, businesses, staff have all everyone has come out of their comfort zone in order to adjust and adapt and make things happen. And that's what we do, especially as folks in the nutrition field. We know that no matter what, our job never stops. And so whatever curveball is thrown our way, we have to adjust and adapt. And honestly, I've learned that I could do more, just my own self. I've learned that I can stretch myself further than what I knew and what I thought. But certainly, I appreciate the camaraderie that was established, and organizations that have come together, banks even, and have done all that they have. Car dealerships have donated time and money, and churches, Nicole had mentioned in her presentation earlier, have come together and lent more than a hand, have lent 2 hands and 2 feet. And it's just been amazing of how when you talk about our children, when you talk about youth and fighting hunger, how everyone, this is our future, and how everyone pulls together to make sure that the kids are taken care of. It's amazing. And I could not have been more pleased to be a part of the number.
That's fantastic. So I have a last question for the both of you, unless another one comes in. What are you looking forward to most this year? Now that I mean, last year was a tornado and a whirlwind and everything was happening last minute. So this year we have a little more time to plan. What is something that you're both looking forward to about your programs this summer?
I can go, Nicole.
Go ahead.
I know one thing is that with, I definitely appreciate the flexibilities that have been extended. But then also at the same time, I do have a couple of sites that are ready to stretch out and to do a little bit more congregating. And so I do miss that, the face-to-face interaction with the kids. And so I'm looking forward to this next year. Just even it's two sites that have agreed,
Tell him.
open up our sites a little bit, and then let's invite kids in to do some, a bit more, activities with them. And so I'm looking forward to that, to getting back to, I don't even know what normal is anymore, but to getting, to doing things a little bit the way we used to do. And so slowly but surely, we're making progress towards that.
Yep. Couldn't agree more with Michele. I just can't wait till we get to the day that I can wrap my arms around these kids and hug them all. I miss that interaction and that connection and that personal, squeezing them type thing. And I want to hold those babies again, while they eat.
I know.
And I really miss all of that. And hopefully things are going to get, back to some sort of normalcy here for all of our sake. And then we're looking, last year was so hard, just even with the broken, distribution chains. And I felt like we had the same thing all the time. And, now that things are, more open, I'm hoping that we can sort of get back to expanding our menus and doing some more fun and ethnic and different hot and different cold things. That's important. So fingers crossed.
We did have a question come in, and it said, if your program is federally funded, can materials from faith-based organizations be distributed, and what are limitations to that?
That's a good question. I never had a complaint. If it offended someone, just like maybe because we're federally funded and we serve pork, and that was an ethnic or a religious reason, I don't think that ever offended anyone. I don't know where you draw the line in the sand on that.
Could you ask that question again, Mara? Because I'm not too sure I understood.
Yeah. If your program is federally funded, can materials from faith-based organizations be distributed, and what are limitations?
Yeah, that is a good question. But because I know that, we do accept donations, not necessarily, especially in this light of pandemic. Now, as far as food is concerned, we are very, we have to abide by, where the food comes from and be very careful about that. And then there are guidelines set about what type of foods can be accepted and things like that. But as far as materials and what Nicole was talking about is, as far as materials for kids and things like that. Well, we're a nonprofit organization, so donations and something definitely, and so is the school district. I mean, it's just something that is to be expected. We have to just document that stuff and be careful. Yeah, like Nicole was talking about, not to cause offense, but we know that we do recognize everyone, and it's really a hard thing to do is to please everyone. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is just make sure, like you were talking about, Nicole, about creating the menus and making sure that they're, they represent our community at large. And so that's what we just make sure that everyone is represented at one time or another. And, we abide by guidelines as far as what can be accepted, what cannot, what type of foods can
I would think we would be okay donated. Distributing faith-based materials, because they're really not coming from the school district or from the sponsor or the site. They're coming from a third party. And we've included a wide variety of materials, so it's not like we've singled things out. It's our intention to, we'll put anything out there, you know, as long as it's not about drugs or guns or anything that's going to be harmful. You know, we put it out there. Coupons for, you know, a free kids meal to Texas Roadhouse, and I mean that could offend somebody. So yeah, I don't know where you draw the line, and I hope we honestly don't get to a place where we have to start doing that too.
Yeah, thank you both so much. Again, thank you both for agreeing to speak today. There is a raffle prize that is drawn in each breakout session, and so Kristen Kamick will be winning an item from Pittsburgh Popcorn Company. We already have your contact information, Kristen, so Grace will be reaching out to you about that. Yeah, so thank you both, Nicole
Thanks
and
for
Michele.
having us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you so much. And then next up at 11, the PA Department of Education will talk about expectations and considerations for this upcoming summer. So everybody take a quick snack break, and I hope to see you all over there at 11. Thank you all.